excitement for facing a new-ish team?
You know what? I didn't even think of it because they've been, it's Arizona's players. I think it'll be more when we go there. Have a new facility, haven't been in, and sort of get a feel for it, kind of like when teams first went into Seattle and here. Probably then it'll hit home a little more.
Do you expect a quicker start tonight?
I hope so. We weren't at the same level as LA the other night. I kind of addressed why I think that happens. Now we've got some guys going through games for the second time, but still it's new for Jack's line, Theo Petro, Hilly. So there's still a little bit of rust. That's just the way it is. So hopefully we are better on our toes. But I suspect those guys will take a little while just to get used to playing with live action, people around them, the physicality and the battles.
In terms of which defenseman's quarterback in each power play unit, do you hope to have a guy with each unit and let him grow there, or do you expect a rotation?
It's an interesting question. There's 3 or 4 things that go into it. Who's the best fit is the first thing, right? And we've seen both Hanny and Theo at the top. So I suspect you'll see both. For whatever reason, when Hanny came in last year, it started clicking pucks to the net. I think that had something to do with Hurdle being at the front. Hanny's maybe more. I think Theo shoots the puck very well, but thinks shot. Hanny might think shot first. I think Calgary was more inclined to play that way, feed pucks to the net. So we left it that way. We're going to be comfortable with both. Theo's playing with Petro, so do you keep them as a pair and they go on the second? You know what I mean? There's a little bit of that. There's some internal things that which player needs it more sometimes. You consider all these things, right? So that's what's going to go into it. But we'll be comfortable with both. They're both great laterally. Understanding of what we want from their left stick, so it's the same setup for whoever forward group they're playing with. So to me, that's one of the real interchangeable part that shouldn't be a lot of adjusting to for the other 4 players on the ice.
Kind of going off of that, as far as power play for the guys up front, with the turnover that you had, do you expect maybe a little bit more experimentation with you those guys?
No, what you're going to see tonight, what it's going to probably look like on opening night is Jack's on his one-timer, and Olofsson's he's a real threat to shoot. And they had some chemistry years ago in Buffalo. Last year, the players over there, sometimes it was a righty, sometimes a lefty that didn't shoot it, first thought. So I think that part will be much more of a threat. Teams are going to have to account for that for Olofsson's one-timer. Hurdle and Stoney will be the bumper net front guys. And they may switch who's where, depending on sticks. With Jack, he likes the right stick, so Stoney will probably start in the goal line, which is a real good spot for him. Hurdle in the bumper, who likes to converge to the net. So you still got those 2 big bodies that find pucks around the net. And then, as I said, Theo or Hanifin up top. So I think you'll see that will be how it's going to look to start. And you'll see some of those pieces tonight, right? Hurdle's not in, but you'll see Barbie in his spot. So we might start to get and then the next unit would be more, sometimes with 2D, a shooting unit. Carly's a big part of that second unit, always has been. Nick Waugh's been in front, so who's the bumper guy? So that's where we're going to be looking flat out for guys. But I see the first unit how it's going to look, or that unit, I guess, Jack's unit. We just got to get them in a game together, which will probably happen, all things being equal, next, Thursday or Saturday, one of those later in this exhibition season.
When you get a new player, how do you balance looking into their past to find out, good things about them, but also separating? You don't want to. If there was luggage somewhere else, I'm guessing you don't want to bring that along.
Well, listen, you're going to hear it because it's brought up when a player gets acquired. It's just normal chit chat internally. But for me as a coach, I try to ignore that. It's a fresh start for people. Form your own ideas, and then go from there. To me, it's more about here's our expectation, here's how we're going to play it. I wasn't in the locker room and let's use Olofsson, Holtz, Jersey, Buffalo. Here's how we're going to play. This is the expectation. These are the non-negotiables. Let's find out what you do well. We'll put you in the best position to succeed, let you play your game, but here's what I'm going to ask for. And then that's the initial thought process, and that's the initial discussion, then you build from there. So if a guy had an issue with, you pick it, because I don't want to.
Bruce Cassidy.
No, I mean, you haven't. Well, if a guy has an issue with me and he's playing in Buffalo, that's weird, right? Like, I mean, you pick the issue. Is he not back check? You know what I mean? Like those things. I'm not bringing it up to him. Hey, I heard this. I mean, I don't think that's productive. Here is what I want. Here's what everyone else is doing on the team. Here's the expectation. And so the days, we had a long shift the other night. It was addressed this morning from a new player. We don't do that around here if we can help it, unless you're really stuck on the ice. It's just a non-negotiable. We're not doing it. We're not kind of screwing our teammate that's coming on the boards and chasing the play. We're not doing it. So we address those things. But the teaching part of it, or some of the other little things, I mean, that's just player one-on-one interaction. And, and yes, if you keep seeing it and that was the thing for somewhere else, then maybe you do have to discuss it at some point. Hey, this has followed you around. What are we going to do about this? How can we fix this? So that would be how I would approach that if those characteristics or traits continued here that you hear everywhere else.
Does it help or hurt that you have the next few days off in between games?
I don't know that 2 days off in the middle of training camp is always ideal, but it's a bonding trip, and we've been doing it for years, and our starts have been good, so I don't think it hurts us. It's not going to hurt us for, a lot of those guys. We're not going to play all our guys in Colorado. That's kind of a crappy exhibition game, to be honest, when you're going 2 hours. You know what I mean? The time, that's the one. San Jose's an hour. It was earlier in the day. That's the one that's a tough one for the veteran guys, that if they had their choice, they'd say, hey, can I sit this one out? That's just, the reality of it. So, but we'll get back to work and start preparing Tuesday and Wednesday for Thursday and then the regular season. So I think you'll see more of that. Okay, this is our group. We're down to one group. We got to start drilling down on some things. And so no, I think it'll be good for the guys, especially the new guys, some newer players trying to get to know the guys. I think those trips are productive. Sometimes they'll do them in season, early in the year when you have a little bit of time. We get to do it in camp. Probably good to get it out of the way that way. You don't get too many breaks anymore in season, but you hear it all the time. Teams will go to, if they're going to say Calgary, they go up to, Banff or Lake, you know what I mean? Like wherever, Lake Placid in the New York area. So I know Boston used to do some of those to Vermont. So I think teams do it their different ways.
The veteran guys, Bruce, you mentioned, I think the other day, 3 might be enough in terms of them playing. Do you seek their input on that?
Yeah.
Or conversation?
Yeah, no, I talked to them.
Okay. You do welcome their 2 cents, what they think they need.
Well, this is one time that I think they would probably know better, unless there's a specific scenario where a guy hasn't played in a long time and he's coming off an injury and he's got a little more rust. I think most guys, they land on pretty much the same amount we do anyway, right? I mean, we usually come up to, okay, if we're playing 6, how does 2 or 3 sound? I'm not trying to get him in 4, and some of the other guys, most of the older guys don't want to play 4, so it usually lands on that anyway. You might get a guy like, might want to play any, Phil might have been that guy, but no disrespect to Phil, but he had an Ironman streak to take care of. You can't lose it in a preseason, right? So, and then there's some guys that want to, honestly, what's that?
You didn't bring luggage along.
Anyway, well, I left it up to him, but we did have to see him that year because remember, he was new. But some guys will want to play more, and you have to tell them not to. And I have had guys, veteran guys, I need to play every night. So, well, it's not going to happen. So you're not going to play 4 or 5 games. So, but rarely does it come to that.
You play the position, Shea Theodore moving sides, moving to his natural side. What does that open up for him?
Well, it's a good question because he's played so often on the other side, and I find if we work backwards on this, the guys that play their offside a lot of times get thrown there because there's more left sticks than right, and they're a little more, they move better laterally. So blue line, offensive blue line, catching passes in the neutral zone, they can open up because you're exposing the puck on your offside. So the advantage on your strong side is you have it out here. So if plays break down, you can always kind of advance it north, but not have it out in front of you, right? Where you're I mean, guys with good sticks like Mark Stone's of the world will take advantage of those things. I think in the offensive zone, keeping pucks in around the boards is a definite advantage when you're on your forehand side. After that, pivoting, defending, I mean, sometimes you're on your offside. If I'm playing a left shot and right D and I can pivot and open up, sometimes there's an advantage to that, being on your offside. Now, on your strong side, you can be more physical going through them, so it depends what type of, how you're going to confront a rush. I think breakouts can work both ways. If you're on your forehand, you can escape towards the boards. I'm probably getting too technical now, but you know what I mean? You're coming back on a puck, you can fake you're going behind the net, you go on your forehand side, you're still protecting the puck again. So that's the advantage, really, is I think you're exposing the puck much less often in every zone on your strong side.
So what are you looking for from Shea on that side?
Well, I'm just looking for him to play the same game. We had a conversation, it's something he brought up too. He says, what would you think of me going to the other side? So this is a mutually agreed upon thing. When we started to think about it more, we tried Hanny with Petro. Shea and Petro we've always thought would be an interesting, you got two guys that really drive play. Then Hager goes to the right and we like how it looks, so now that's a possibility now. So I'm not putting someone else out to move Shea over. So I'm just looking for him to be a driver of offense on there, solid defensively, good first pass, no matter what side he's on. I don't think the ask is any different, Darren, to be honest, of how he plays. We're going to find out early on what advantages he has being over there and what does he lose. So.